On July 30th, 2025, an 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck the coast of the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia's Far East. Though it lasted for only 3 to 4 minutes, it caused 1 death and 25 injuries, as well as tsunami warnings across Russia, Japan, Hawaii, Alaska, and the west coast of the United States. It was the 6th strongest earthquake ever recorded. This leads to the question, what were the top 3 strongest earthquakes ever recorded? The main metric that I will be using for this is the Richter scale, which is a base 10 logarithmic scale. At number 3, it's the 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan, with a magnitude of 9.0 to 9.1. On March 11th, 2011, at 2:46 p.m., an undersea megathrust earthquake occurred 72 kilometers east of the Tohoku region in Japan. It lasted for around 6 minutes, and the earthquake caused a tsunami. There were many foreshocks and hundreds of aftershocks after the earthquake on March 11th. In fact, there have been more than 13,300 aftershocks since the earthquake happened. The earthquake caused Honshu Island's Pacific coast to sink by about 1 meter, but it rose back to its original level 3 years later. The fault was located at the convergent boundary between the Pacific Plate and the Okhotsk microplate. The earthquake was devastating since there were 19,759 deaths, 6,242 injuries, and 2,553 people were missing. The tsunami that was caused by the earthquake led to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, which displaced more than 164,000 local residents. It caused $360 billion worth of damage, and when adjusted for inflation today, it would be around $520 billion worth of damage. It caused over 340,000 people to be displaced in the Tohoku region and led to a humanitarian crisis. Luckily, the Japanese government and many countries sent rescue missions to help the people, and the Japanese Red Cross was able to raise $1 billion in donations. At number 2, there's a tie between the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake in Indonesia and the 1964 Alaska earthquake, with a magnitude of 9.2 to 9.3. On December 26, 2004, at 7:58 a.m., an undersea megathrust earthquake occurred off the west coast of Aceh in Sumatra, Indonesia. The fault was located between the Burma Plate and the Indian Plate. This resulted in a massive tsunami known as the Boxing Day tsunami, which devastated coastal areas around the Indian Ocean. Around 228,000 people were killed across 14 countries. In particular, it devastated Aceh, Tamil Nadu, and Kaula. It was the deadliest tsunami in history and the deadliest natural disaster of the 21st century. The earthquake was the strongest in the 21st century and was the strongest earthquake ever recorded in Asia. The fault rupture was between 1,200 to 1,300 kilometers and had the longest duration, which was at least 10 minutes. Indonesia was most devastated by the natural disasters, since over 172,000 people were killed. Up to 9,000 tourists, who were mostly European, were killed or were missing. In particular, Sweden had a death toll of 543 people, followed by Germany with 539 victims. Luckily, there was a worldwide humanitarian response that led to more than $14 billion worth of donations. On March 27, 1964, at 5:38 p.m., the fault located between the Pacific and North American plates occurred near College Fjord in Prince William Sound, Alaska. Though it lasted for only 4 minutes and 38 seconds, it was the strongest earthquake in North American history. Port Valdez experienced a massive underwater landslide and 32 people were killed. An 8.2 meter tsunami destroyed a nearby village, and 23 out of the 68 people living there were killed. There were post-earthquake tsunamis that affected other Alaskan communities, as well as people living in British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and California. There was also some damage that happened in Hawaii and Japan. There were 139 casualties. 15 were directly killed by the earthquake, while 124 were killed from tsunamis in Alaska, Oregon, and California. There was $311 million worth of damage, which is the equivalent of $3.246 billion worth of damage today. Around 37% was property damage. Though Anchorage wasn't hit by the tsunamis, the most damage occurred there. Many acres of buildings and city blocks were destroyed from landslides, and the concrete control tower at Anchorage International Airport collapsed. In Anchorage, a team of 40 scientists was formed to assess the damage done to the city, and the United States Army deployed troops to help the residents of Anchorage. At number 1, it's the 1960 Valdivia earthquake in Chile, with a magnitude of 9.4 to 9.6. On May 22, 1960, at 3:11 p.m., a megathrust earthquake occurred near Lumaco, which is located 570 kilometers south of Santiago. It was named the Valdivia earthquake because the most affected city was Valdivia. The earthquake caused tsunamis that heavily impacted the Chilean coast, with waves as high as 25 meters. 10,000 kilometers away from the epicenter, waves as high as 10.7 meters reached Hilo, Hawaii. For context, Chile is located in a region called the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is known for its seismic activity. The earthquake happened because of mechanical stress that was released between the Nazca Plate and the South American Plate. According to estimates, there were 1,000 to 6,000 casualties. Valdivia was severely impacted by the earthquake since 40% of the homes were destroyed and 20,000 people became homeless. Surprisingly, most of the homes that were affected were built from concrete, while traditional wooden houses fared better. In the city center, many destroyed city blocks were empty until the 1990s and the 2000s, and some of them were used as parking lots. Sadly, Valdivia has also experienced many other earthquakes in the past, including one in 1800 BC, 1575, 1737, and 1837. In conclusion, the top 3 strongest earthquakes that were ever recorded had a magnitude of more than 9.0. These earthquakes all caused subsequent tsunamis and happened in the Pacific Ring of Fire region. The good news is that earthquake prediction technology is improving greatly, which can prevent earthquakes from having catastrophic impacts in nearby communities. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video to give me feedback. Thank you for watching.